Versatile Mage. Chapter 346. Frightening Kingdom. A rare smile surfaced on Li Man's face. Be City's greatest threat was the giant lizard's horde. Since Li Man had been reallocated to Be City, she had been unable to come up with any viable plan to suppress the growth of the giant lizards. She was initially planning to investigate the Deathbringer of Dongting Lake, trying to understand what could possibly kill so many giant lizards. To her surprise, she had bumped into a caveman and a young but courageous soldier in Zizhao Valley. The two had used the simple strategy of provoking two demon beasts to fight one another to eliminate a commander-level demon beast. It was definitely good news to Li Man, as it would provide Be City some relief. On top of that, after learning that the giant poisonous centipede turned out to be the winner of the battle, Li Man quickly came up with an idea and specifically marked the creature with the light element sacred chant. She purposely let it live so it would suppress the giant lizards. Killing a commander of the giant lizards while producing a new natural enemy of the giant lizard horde was equivalent to suppressing two nests of the giant lizards. I've mentioned before, the corpse is mine, Mo Fan said sternly, pointing at the giant dead body of the Xuanwu giant lizard. I've got what I wanted, said Li Man. Brother Fan, I've also gotten what I need. As for the mountain, you should bring it back and build yourself a building. Zhang Xiaoho burst out laughing. A commander-level demon beast's corpse was full of useful components. It would take Mo Fan some time just to finish looting the dead body. I'll help. I can send a troop of battle mages here to move the corpse back to the army and dissect it. Who knows how long you will take to do it yourself, suggested Li Man. Her face had more color now, and she looked more feminine. She was in a good mood, both because the poison was cleansed and because she had resolved a huge threat for the military. Why don't I sell it to the military? Since we couldn't have done it without you, I'll give you a 10% discount. Mo Fan did agree that moving such an enormous corpse would definitely bring him a great headache. That works, too. The research team will surely be more than happy to take a commander-level demon beast. As a commander, Li Man had the authority to make the decision on her own. I wish us good cooperation. Mo Fan reached out his filthy hand. His hair was overgrown, a sign that the demon element was not fully deactivated yet. Likewise, Li Man wore a gentle smile. She squinted as she said with a hint of admiration, "You're something special." It's my first time seeing an intermediate magician killing a commander-level demon beast. Even among the advanced magicians, killing a commander-level demon beast is considered an impressive achievement. I didn't come here living for a few months like a caveman just to experience nature. Mo Fan smiled, revealing his sharp canine fangs. Then why don't you tell me, why were the two commander-level demon beasts severely injured before I came here? Li Man stared right into Mo Fan's eyes, as if she were trying to see through his lies. God knows. Mo Fan rolled his eyes, as if it were none of his business. Li Man did not ask further, seeing that he was trying to avoid the topic. Li Man believed that this caveman was closely related to the Deathbringer of Dongting Lake, but she did not know the details. After arriving back at Be City, Mo Fan felt the final soul breakdown was about to take place. It was similar to a tribulation for Mo Fan. He was being punished by heaven for using a power that did not belong to him. Everything would be fine if he were able to survive the tribulation, but he would be damned if he failed. Mo Fan was clueless about the number of giant lizards he had killed, and he had no idea how many soul essences he had consumed. Either way, he did not want to be controlled by the demon element again. If it weren't for the little loach pendant, he would have died several times over. Once he survived the final soul breakdown, the blood Sarira in his body would disappear completely. Mo Fan would have hesitated to get rid of the demon's lineage if it weren't for the extreme after effects. He did like the feeling of being able to beat the shit out of a commander-level demon beast. Unfortunately, great power would not just come for free. The price he had to pay was too much for him to bear. He recalled Jiang Yi's words. Even if he managed to survive, his cultivation would still decline. After Mo Fan used the commander-level soul remnant to overcome the tribulation, his soul was in a grave condition, while his cultivation declined significantly, too. Mo Fan felt like having a tearless cry. He had spent so much effort on improving his fire element to the 3rd tier. He had so much fun with the 9 Hall's Fiery Fist, but it had now dropped down to the 2nd tier, the Fiery Fist, Groundbreak. Not only did his fire element decline, his lightning element, shadow element, and summoning element had all dropped by a grade. If Mo Fan was slightly touched by the power of the demon element before, the declining of his cultivation had forced him to make up his mind instead. His cultivation was a result of hard work. That being said, it would be quite impossible for Mo Fan to demonize now even if he wanted to. The energy of the demon element had completely dissipated after the final soul breakdown. He would need a new blood Sarira in order to use the demon element again. The blood Sarira was in the military's hands. Mo Fan did consider bringing one with him at all times, as losing his life was scarier than losing a grade of his cultivation. It would be something he had to think about in the future. After recovering his human form, Mo Fan followed Zhang Xiaohou back to the southern military. The only person from the military he could trust was Zan Kong. He had managed to suppress the information about the demon element, thus not many people knew about his secret. I sometimes wonder if you're invincible, how are you still alive after that? Zan Kong smiled when he saw the lively Mo Fan in front of him. I'm pretty much dead anyway. My cultivation has declined, Mo Fan said with a wry smile. That's nothing, you can easily recover your cultivation. I've asked him to do a full check on your body. The demon lineage in your body is fully cleansed, and your soul is recovering well, too, said Zan Kong. That's a relief. Mo Fan nodded and uttered a relieved sigh. By the way, I've done a little experiment by using the blood Sarira's energy on your body. I've discovered that your body is now immune to it, said Zan Kong. Immune? Mo Fan was confused. Frankly speaking, the blood Sarira won't have any effect on you. You won't be able to demonize anymore. You would have awakened a new element, if it were truly an element. However, you only have 4 elements now, instead of having the demon element in your spiritual world. What they invented was more like a virus, an ecstasy, a biochemical drug. It has nothing to do with a new element, said Zan Kong. Mo Fan nodded. Lu Nian and his group were mad, trying to make something so twisted a new magic element. You should train here for some time. Try and recover your cultivation first. The news regarding your death is still being published, since the Black Vatican still has their eyes on you. If nothing is wrong with your body for some time, you can go back to school, said Zan Kong. Thanks, instructor. Mo Fan felt rather relaxed knowing that his life was no longer in danger. Brother Fan, you should stay here longer, Zhang Xiaohou said with a smile. You should get your ass to the ancient capital now. I sent you there to train yourself, and yet you've been wasting time messing around, scolded Zan Kong without mercy. The ancient capital Xi'an. I was told that it's pretty close to the land of the undead. Asked Mo Fan. Zhang Xiaohou nodded heavily as he said, the undead will occasionally crawl out from nowhere. It's nearly impossible to wipe them out, as they will reincarnate fairly quickly. By the way, with the earth element soul seed, flowing mud, I'm no longer afraid of being surrounded by the undead. I should visit the place sometime, exclaimed Mo Fan. The place where dynasties rose and fell, the burial ground of countless soldiers. As the sun rose from the east, the living woke up and proceeded to the daily routines. However, as the sun set on the horizon, the undead would impatiently lift open the sand, pall, and coffin lids as they worshipped the darkness. Tombs, graves, battlefields, corpse pits, buried soldiers. What kind of an exciting kingdom would it be? Chapter end. Versatile Mage. Chapter 347. The Man Without Grace. Autumn had arrived within the blink of an eye. The streets, full of drifting fallen leaves and catkins in Hangzhou, had combined into a poetic scene. During autumn, Hangzhou was not as scorching as the cities in the south, with temperatures similar to summer. It was also not as chilly as the places in the north. It had the perfect temperature, with a gentle breeze. It was more like the gentle, elegant final washes of ink or color to a drawing, instead of an omen of the upcoming winter season. Zhejiang Institute had the same dull gray color. More fallen leaves were waiting to be cleaned up every day. They were like the clothes that women dumped as the seasons changed, not worth being sentimentally attached to. The female students still retained the usual trend of wearing short skirts and black stockings. The outfit was deemed the all-around outfit among the girls, regardless of the season, and it would never be described as out of fashion either. It was like Nippon lily, retaining the radiance of spring at all times. Translator note: fun fact, the radiance of spring sometimes refers to a slight glimpse of something sexy or erotic wink. In comparison, the most popular outfit among the men was the combination of sandals and jerseys. In the South, this outfit was good enough to last 3.5 seasons. Those who were not bothered about trifles would wear it during all seasons, not because they would simply wear an outer layer of downcoat in the cold seasons, but because they did not need to rely on extra warmth from clothing due to their fire or ice elements. Speaking of the perks of having those elements, Zhejiang Institute had a small lake to its west, and at its center stood a pavilion. The pavilion was left unattended for quite some time. Even the wooden bridge connecting the pavilion had collapsed to the bottom of the lake, as if serving as a sign telling the students not to hang around the lake. Unfortunately, everyone there was a magician, thus the bridge would not make a difference at all. A handsome man with perfectly set hair stood by the lake and said with a smile, "I'll push you there, it's nothing worth mentioning." The calm surface of the clean lake reflected his rather tall figure. The gentle, yet masculine movement and tone implied that he had come from a fairly educated background. He reached out his hand and swept it across the lake. The weeds at the shore were gradually covered by a layer of ice. The ice rapidly spread to the water, making a crackling noise. The surface of the lake froze. The thin layer of ice gradually thickened, as the icy energy continued to spread across it. It looked like an ice bridge was slowly extending across the surface of the lake, resulting in a magical view. It's the Prince of Ice, Lu Yilan. Not only is he handsome, his control of the ice element is very impressive too. As expected of someone ranked on our school's leaderboard, some girls nearby screamed at the top of their lungs. The Prince of Ice was a complimentary title that Zhejiang Institute had given to Lu Yilan. He had conquered the entire school with his ice element not long after coming here. Together with his outstanding appearance and cool demeanor, he quickly captured many girls' hearts. Wasn't a man like him the reason why they had worked so hard trying to secure a spot in the powerhouse institutes? Sigh, he's with that girl again. I don't understand. What good does a girl who can't even walk properly have? A female student with a perfect mid-split hairstyle blurted out in envy. In terms of appearance, many girls could easily outmatch her. I bet he's just pitying her. I hate people who act like they're pitiful the most. Grumbling when someone has merely stepped on an ant. Ah, I can't walk, please push me around. Ah, I'm having a slight headache. I think I've caught a cold. Everyone knows how to pretend to be weak. Humph, Chen Yunqi snapped. Her mimic was on point, which prompted her friends nearby to bust out laughing. The laughter echoed in the path lined up with trees. The Prince of Ice, Lu Yilan, glanced back at the girls who he used to hang out with. He smiled gently and slightly lowered his head. Don't mind them, they're only jealous because I'm spending my time with you. Come, let's go to the pavilion. I want to have some time alone, sorry. Xinxia raised her head. There was no other emotion in her clear eyes apart from the calm. She rolled her wheelchair with her skinny arms. She did not take the frozen path but approached the lakeside instead. Lu Yilan tapped his nose as he uttered a self-mocking laugh. Meanwhile, Chen Yuqi's rather annoying voice appeared. Yo, acting like a noble, pretending to keep a distance in order to grasp him better. How impressive. Well, Yunqi, you can't say that. Maybe someone is really not interested in the Prince of Ice. Maybe someone has already occupied her heart, said the girl with the mid-split. Then maybe her sweetheart prefers to go out with someone whom he can hold hands with while browsing the streets, someone like us who will not require him to push a wheelchair. I bet you've been reading too many of those romance novels. Lu Yilan frowned. In his opinion, Chen Yunqi and her friends had gone too far. How could they keep on talking about someone's physical defects? It would just highlight how uneducated they were. The girls continued to exchange disdainful remarks on their own. Lu Yilan finally ran out of patience and blurted out, "Aren't you going a bit too far with that?" "Too far? I don't think so. We're just saying what we want to say, and doing what we want to do. We don't like girls who like to put up an act. Frankly speaking, she's still acting as if she were a saintess after being mocked by us, pretending that she isn't angry at us. I bet she's cursing us in her heart," said Chen Yunqi in a mocking tone. "That's right, we make it clear who we don't like. We dare to spit it out when we dislike the White Lotus. Those who put up an act are the most disgusting." The girls left Lu Yilan speechless with their reasoning. Lu Yilan was clueless about what to do. He glanced at the lonely back of the person sitting on a wheelchair. He had no idea how he could comfort her. While he was feeling lost, a man wearing a black short-sleeve shirt walked past him. Judging from his outfit, he had most likely come from the south. No one would wear clothes like him due to the cold temperature. The man had a fierce presence. His body was wrapped inside a unique shadow, which resulted in huge contrast with his bright, eye-grabbing aura. He even looked like a hooligan with how his chest was exposed from the 3 loosened buttons. "Bitches like you should just stay in the water," the man said to Chen Yunqi and the girls who were still talking non-stop. The man definitely lacked a tender heart toward females. His kicks landed accurately on 3 different body parts of the girls. Chen Yunqi, the girl with the mid-split, and the other one wearing glasses were taken by surprise and were knocked right into the icy lake. The splashes were exceedingly obvious along the path. It quickly attracted the attention of the crowd nearby. None of the girls possessed the water element. Their bodies were soaked, and the water was cold too. Their clothing, hair, and makeup were utterly messed up by the water. Lu Yilan was stunned. He stared at the man in disbelief. Why would a man be acting so rough against women? Even though he had pictured himself kicking the girls into the lake a few times, his inner conscience from living a noble life would never allow him to perform such a disgraceful act. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 348. She's a broken and I'm a siskin. Which jerk dares to kick me into the water? I'll crush you. It's that guy in the black shirt. It's him. Sisters, let's peel his skin off. Teach him that the prettiest 3 sisters of Zhejiang Institute are not someone he would want to mess with. The girl with the mid-split, who had turned into a crazy woman, totally ignored the icy water and started showing her stars. The girl called Chen Yunqi was even crazier. A star pattern was drawn slowly under her feet. However, her body shivered from the cold, and following a sneeze, it instantly interrupted the casting of the magic, leaving her really angry. Bitches like you who only know how to abuse people with words dare to fight against me. The man wearing the black shirt whistled and stared at the wet clothing on the girls. One has a thick waist, one a flat chest, and one with wide-opened legs. I'm not surprised that you would be jealous of the others. The 3 girls went crazy when the shameless man pointed out the parts that they were embarrassed of. They totally forgot about the rules where the students were not allowed to duel outside of the training grounds and summoned their nebula and star patterns. Lightning strike. Electric field. Mo Fan adeptly cast the lightning magic. Dense lightning arcs sprang forward following his wave. The lightning arcs flew through the air, a few of them spreading rapidly across the ground. The lightning arcs soon formed an electric field with a circumference of 20 meters around the girls. The lightning arcs cracked rapidly as they were conducted toward the girls. The water made it easier to conduct electricity. The basic level spells they finally managed to cast were shattered instantly. They began to dance wildly as if they were in a fire pit from the shocks. Their hair was scorched black while their wet clothes were toasted dry. The girls that were relatively good looking a few moments ago now looked uglier than ghouls. Mo Fan had already controlled the power of the lightning strike to avoid inflicting any damage to them. Otherwise, he could guarantee that they would have had an even greater time. The lightning strike. Lu Yilan was startled. Chen Yunqi was an intermediate magician, and the other two girls were not weak either, halfway into the intermediate level. However, not only had their opponent managed to cast his magic way earlier, they could not even do anything against a mere basic spell. The magician using the lightning strike clearly knew how to control his energy, only trying to teach them a lesson instead of hurting them. The passers-by burst into laughter when they saw the miserable appearance of the girls. You just wait. Tell us your name if you have the guts. I, Chen Yunqi, will definitely make you pay. Chen Yunqi burst out cursing while coughing up smoke. The man in the black shirt blurted out with an evil grin, I'm one that has never bothered using a false identity, Shenming Shao from Pearl Institute. Shenming Shao, very well, you shall wait. Chen Yunqi quickly left after uttering the threat. As a woman, she still wanted to protect her own image. The trio did not want to stay any further and be the crowd's laughing stock. The man in the black shirt chuckled when he saw the three girls fleeing. He went up to Xinxia. On the wheelchair, Xinxia, whose eyes were glistening, had her mouth slightly open. Her face was filled with joy and surprise. Soon, her eyes turned wet and red. Following a blink, her eyelashes were soaked with tears. Stupid girl, what are you crying for? Didn't I tell you that I'm still alive? Mo Fan stood in front of Xinxia with his hands in his pockets. He half bent forward while staring at Xinxia's cheeks, as if he were acting cool. However, when he saw her tears bursting out from her eyes, he panicked and drew out his hands. His fingers swiped across her chubby face to get rid of the tears rolling down her cheeks. Xinxia could not hold her tears when she heard the words. She opened her arms and wrapped around Mo Fan's neck, sticking her face close to his. Mo Fan was slightly startled. He could feel the tenderness and the heat from the girl's face. His heart, which was still feeling rather indifferent, immediately melted. His squinted eyes showed how relieved he felt, while his mouth, which usually portrayed arrogance and evil intentions, slowly curled upward into a relieved smile. A girl sitting on a wheelchair and a boy half bending forward while enjoying the hug. The crowd, despite its number, had somehow turned into the background together with the path with trees lined up on both sides. It was a peaceful afternoon, with steady and gentle breathing, and tears of joy. Do you still remember the story I told you? Once upon a time, a king had two daughters. They were born pretty and had a unique ability. Their tears would turn into pearls instantly. The king then let her eldest daughter marry a prince from another kingdom. The prince always hurt her, thus making her cry. The pearls she made were enough to wrap around the earth twice. The younger daughter married a farmer. The king was confused, as a single drop of tears could let them live a luxurious life, but they stayed poor instead. However, the king soon realized that the farmer was not willing to let his daughter shed a single drop of tears. The king said to the farmer with relief, "You're a good husband, unlike the other prince who only cared about producing more pearls with his daughter's tears." Mo Fan slowly told the classic story. Xinxia nodded heavily. She had already heard the story before, and not just once. Her heart rippled as she blushed slightly. Did Mo Fan just hint that they were like husband and wife? The farmer fell silent for a moment hearing the king's words, before he blurted out. Mo Fan saw there were still tears on Xinxia's cheeks, thus he pretended to be the farmer and said, "My king, I bet you've forgotten. She is only fond of me after she went blind." Hearing this, Xinxia instantly felt the atmosphere crumbling. She clenched her little fists and threw punches at Mo Fan's shoulder. This asshole is trying to destroy the fairy tales again. Most of them have already fallen victim to his hands. Can't he just finish them with a happy ending? However, when she recalled Mo Fan's tone as he mimicked the farmer, she burst into tears of joy instead. Thanks to this jerk for brainwashing her with dark fairy tales. Somehow, she would even laugh at such a bad punchline. Xinxia, is this your brother that you mentioned before? Hi, I'm Lu Yilan, nice to meet you. Lu Yilan was never satisfied with just being a bystander. He soon went up to the two. Mo Fan turned around at the hypocrite Lu Yilan and snapped, "Didn't you know it's impolite to disturb a couple making a public display of affection?" Public display of affection? Lu Yilan was stunned, before he asked in a surprised tone, "Aren't you two siblings?" "She's a broken, and I'm a siskin, you have a problem with that," said Mo Fan. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 349. A wife that I've raised up since young. The expression that the Prince of Ice, Lu Yilan, was wearing was the pure definition of weird. Despite wearing a stiffened smile, he was having a dramatic monologue in his heart. Why would Yi Xinxia have such a weird brother? Not only was he acting rough to girls, he even said stuff like broken or siskin. How lowly. If you have nothing else to say, please get out of my sight. Go wherever you should be going. Mo Fan pushed Xinxia's wheelchair and headed to the school's entrance. There was no chance Lu Yilan would let them go just like that. His instincts were warning him about how unreliable this person was. Xinxia was already a weak girl with impaired movement. It would be a disaster if she were taken away by this strange man. Hence, Lu Yilan continued to wear a smile as he said, "Since you're Xinxia's friend, you are my friend, too. I believe you've just arrived here. Please, let me buy you a meal." "Dude, aren't you annoying? We're about to find someplace without people to share our love and do something that's not suitable for children. Can you please stop talking and step aside?" Mo Fan said impatiently. Xinxia blushed when she heard the words. What does he mean by sharing our love and doing something that's not suitable for children? How embarrassing does that sound? Lu Yilan's face turned blue and white rapidly. This guy was indeed having bad thoughts against Xinxia. She was too kind and gentle. She wouldn't even dare reject him. No way. Even if Xinxia weren't rejecting him, how could I just stand and watch her falling into the wolf's mouth? Lu Yilan decisively stepped forward and said with a stern face, "Friend, you're going too far with that. I've been looking after Xinxia for the past few months. I know how gentle she is. I will not let you abuse her personality and harass her as you wish. She might stay silent, but it doesn't mean I, Lu Yilan, will allow it." Xinxia was about to say something, as she did not agree with Lu Yilan. As a matter of fact, Xinxia had already made things clear to Lu Yilan, but this guy seemed to be just living in his own world. However, Mo Fan stopped her. He squinted and glanced at Lu Yilan, whose appearance and actions hinted that he was a fairly well-behaved man. He asked with a smile, "Do you like her?" "What are you trying to say?" said Lu Yilan. "If so, I still think you're behaving reasonably. Otherwise, aren't you fucking caring too much about other people's business?" Cursed Mo Fan. Lu Yilan did not like anyone cursing at him. He frowned and glanced at Xinxia. It's fine. He could use the chance to express his feelings. Otherwise, the woman he loved would be dragged away by this perverted wolf, staining the pure, naive woman he was fond of. So what if that's true? Lu Yilan said with a stern look. So what if it's true? I was already disappointed when those girls were picking on her. If you're a man, you should have kicked them straight away instead of wasting your time arguing with them. And now, you're telling me you like her. Mo Fan's smile had turned into a mocking grin. I was being considerate for Xinxia. Lu Yilan explained himself with a dark face. Consider my ass. Listen up. She's my sister, and my wife that I've raised up since young. She's mine, you understand. Stop bothering her shamelessly like a fly. I'll beat the crap out of you so that your mum won't even recognize you. Mo Fan snapped righteously. Mo Fan's current appearance perfectly suited the expected behavior of an imposing CEO that the girls always fantasized about. Xingxia had let Lu Yilan know that her heart was already occupied. However, when she heard Mo Fan referring to her as his wife that he had raised since young, she felt like digging herself a hole and hiding inside it. There were people passing by occasionally. Did he really have to say that out loud? Beat the crap out of me that my mum won't even recognize me. Lu Yilan's expression turned dark. He could no longer stick to his polite demeanor. I bet you should go and ask around, to see if anyone dares to disrespect me like that here in Zhejiang Institute. The situation immediately became a showdown between the two. Their auras collided. The energy of the ice element and lightning element soon lingered in the air nearby. The crowd quickly realized that the two were about to start a brawl. They immediately backed off and looked at them with a hint of gloating. Where did this kid come from? Is he really that blind to try and pick on the Prince of Ice? Said one of Lu Yilan's sidekicks. Take a look yourself, it's that guy in the black shirt. Lu Yilan has already warned him not to cross the line. However, that guy showed no respect at all. Even though the healer girl Xingxia was born with impaired movement, there are quite a few guys interested in her. However, either they did not dare to compete with the Prince of Ice, or they were taught a lesson behind the scenes. This guy is about to have a tough time, said a student who was relatively up to date with the news in the school. By the way, does anyone know who the guy is? I don't think he's from Zhejiang Institute. Surely not, otherwise, why would he even bother going against Lu Yilan? Look at him, still thinking that he's good. I bet he won't even know how he loses the fight later. Lu Yilan's sidekick burst into laughter. An unusual breeze swept the place. The fallen leaves drifted to the wind. The crowd was intrigued. They had surrounded the entire place, waiting for the two to start fighting. The school did set up rules, but how many magicians could actually control their hands? Xingxia, step aside. I'll teach this stupid jerk a lesson. My ice element is fairly powerful. I don't want to hurt you by accident, said Lu Yilan politely. Mo Fan did not purposely push Xingxia away. His eyes flickered with a bolt of purple-black lightning, an indication that he was accumulating his energy. I prefer to use lightning against people like you. Mo Fan stood beside Xingxia. The lightning element star pattern was drawn quickly under his feet. The process was finished in a silent, yet rapid manner. Damn it, having Xingxia by your side while fighting against me. You know that I won't cast any spell at you, said Lu Yilan with a stern look. It's not that complicated. Mo Fan smiled. As a matter of fact, it was unnecessary for the crowd to give them a big space for the duel. There was no need to have Xingxia move away from them to avoid being hurt by accident. Mo Fan could easily defeat an opponent like him with a single attack. Chanjin, Thunderbolt, Yaksha. Mo Fan was incredibly quick at casting an intermediate spell. He was already pointing his finger at the air when he was uttering the words. It's not that complicated. A great flicker swept across the sky. It forked and struck down rapidly. The trees nearby were shattered into black pieces instantly by the lightning. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 350. The Best Ride. Thick purple lightning bolts appeared out of nowhere from the clear sky, like a devil's claw. The Prince of Ice, Lu Yilan, could not even prepare himself. He never imagined that his opponent was able to cast an intermediate magic at twice his speed. He had only drawn half of the star pattern. Lu Yilan quickly activated his magic shield, knowing that the situation was not in his favor. The shield looked like an extended fin. Its surface was made of scales, each reflecting a unique color. The purple-black lightning bolt struck the shield heavily. To everyone's surprise, it was shattered into pieces instantly by the powerful bolt of lightning. Even though the equipment looked fairly sturdy, it was incredibly fragile when facing the lightning. Lu Yilan was slammed to the ground as soon as the shield was destroyed. Blue puffs of smoke rose from his body. Although his equipment managed to protect him from the lightning, his body could not withstand the momentum from the impact. He fell to the ground face first, the blood from his bleeding nose immediately smearing across the face he was proud of. Lu Yilan shivered. It felt like his bones were on the verge of collapsing when he tried to get up from the ground. The incredible pain made him clench his teeth. Meanwhile, the gloating crowd gaped, their eyes wide. They could not believe the famous genius of their school was defeated by a single attack. Where did this monstrous kid come from? Crap, Lu Yilan has smashed himself into an iron plate. That's insane, he just defeated the famous Prince of Ice with a single spell. Being aware of the comments and weird gazes of the crowd, Lu Yilan totally lost his temper. However, when he glanced at the man in the black shirt, Lu Yilan did not dare to underestimate him again. The fact that he had acquired a spirit-grade soul seed and was able to master the second-tier storm cloud was enough to imply that he was no ordinary magician. Lu Yilan could not help but admit that he had picked the wrong fight, but he would not give up easily. Don't let me see you again. Otherwise, I'll beat the crap out of you every time I see you. Mo Fan stared down at Lu Yilan, who was still having trouble rising from the ground. Both his expression and tone were incredibly smug. Beat me up every time you see me. It was the first time Lu Yilan had heard someone say that to him. The fact was, being persistent would make little difference. His strength was obviously not on the same level as his opponent. Mo Fan did not waste any more time with the idiot. He pushed Xingxia's wheelchair and left the place. They finally had some peace after leaving the crowd behind. Mo Fan glanced at Xingxia, who had been fairly quiet, and chuckled. Do you think I've gone too far, beating up your schoolmate like that? Xingxia shook her head and said, he is indeed too full of himself. Xingxia had no idea what to say about Lu Yilan. Despite acting like a gentleman around her, he would subconsciously display the pride in his heart with little details. She was not willing to get close to him, but he always assumed that she was hiding her favor, worried about being picked on by girls like Chen Yunqi. She had already told him that she was not interested in him, but he assumed that she was only feeling unworthy due to her natural defect. Oh, so you don't like him either. I should have hit him with another spell. I hate idiots like him who think they are the White Prince the most, said Mo Fan. Leaving the school, Mo Fan saw that Xingxia was still wearing her same old clothing, so he decided to bring her shopping. Autumn had come too. How could a girl not dress up properly in this poetic season? Besides, Mo Fan enjoyed seeing different impressions of her as she tried on different outfits. Mo Fan realized that many couples were hailing taxis at the school gate. Mo Fan was not in a rush. He queued up patiently for his turn. When his ride arrived, Mo Fan was about to push Xingxia toward it when someone quickly went up to the car and hopped in with his girlfriend. Hey, I've already waved my hand, said Mo Fan in an unpleasant tone. Brother, I waved my hand at it, too. Too bad you didn't see it. Just wait for the next one, said the young man with a baseball cap. The driver saw Mo Fan with a girl in a wheelchair and subconsciously wanted to avoid trouble. He pressed the horn, urging Mo Fan to make way. See you, brother. Don't blame me, you should be driving yourself since your girlfriend is impaired, said the young man in a proud tone. It does make some sense, Mo Fan nodded. Hailing a taxi was not really convenient. Why wait here when he already had a great transportation tool? Mo Fan briefly closed his eyes. When they sprang open again, his pupils flickered with a lunar white glow. The nebula of the same color appeared in front of Mo Fan, forming a dimension gap connecting their world to another magical kingdom. Humph! A howl stirred up a strong gust within an instant. The school gate was fairly crowded at this time of the day. They immediately turned around upon hearing the shocking noise. To everyone's surprise, a handsome blue wolf leapt out from the gap. Its hair drifted imposingly in the wind, granting it indescribable savagery and style. Come, our ride is here. Mo Fan lifted Xingxia and placed her on the back of the swift star wolf. As Xingxia collected her thoughts, she realized that she was sitting on the back of a magnificent beast. She grabbed the fur of the swift star wolf in fright. Mo Fan folded up the wheelchair and carried it on his back. He leapt onto the swift Star Wolf's back, sitting behind Xinxia. He made use of the chance to hug her around the waist, while his nose enjoyed the pleasant scent of her hair. The crowd at the school gate burst into an uproar. Apart from those hailing taxis, even those who had driven their luxurious cars here to pick up the girlfriends were incomparable. This man had redefined the highest level of making a public display of affection. The guy who was feeling proud after taking the taxi away from Mo Fan was stunned. Even the driver was too scared to drive away. Holding Xinxia's tender body and riding the magnificent swift Star Wolf, Mo Fan had decided to show these guys his best ride, which consisted of a roaring jump start, an open top view of 270 degrees, and a luxurious two-seater. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.